Now we would like to be able to edit these things, wouldn't we? We can do that using contentEditable, as I strongly hinted in the homework. First, let's make a button. So we have a fave and a delete button. Let's make another one. Stick it in here. I'll call it edit. And it will say edit. How's that? There it is. We want it to do something when clicked. Let's make it do something. So item dot query selector. This time it is the edit button. So I'll look for both the class edit and the class button. I'll add an event listener. Call some method that doesn't exist yet when it's clicked. I will call it toggleEditable because that's what it's going to do. We could bind it to a bunch of business. If you're in the business binding business. Bind, we'll pass in, we'll correct this to what we want. We'll pass in the item, we'll pass in the flick, just like we did the last 2 times. I bet we could make use of both of those. This item in flick. So it is called toggleEditable. We pass in the item, the flick, and the event will come in whether we want it or not. And what's it supposed to do? It's supposed to make this editable. So as you may have discovered, in HTML, here's the span where flick name lives. We could throw another attribute on there called contentEditable. And if we do that, all of a sudden it kind of acts like an input. We don't want it to be editable until we click the button. Not right off the bat. So is that something we can do? Suppose we have the span. Here's the span. It's $0. If I say $0 dot content, okay, I see some interesting stuff here. contentEditable camel cased, and is content editable? Is content editable? It's false. What if I change content editable to true? There it is. And now is content editable is true. If I set content editable back to false, not editable anymore. Why do we need both of these properties, though? Why can't we just check what content editable is? Well, let's see what it is. See what's weird about that? Compared to the line above. It's a string. Yeah. So if you tried to say set content editable to the opposite of its current value, well, the string false is truthy because it's a non-empty string. That's true. So it's just going to stay true. So we need is content editable if we need to check whether it currently is or is not editable. Kind of a funny little quirk. So toggleEditable. We need to get that span. That span has a class of flick name, and it is inside our li, which is already item here. So we could say const name field equals item dot query selector dot flick name. And then we can't just say content editable is the opposite of what it is now. We need to say it's the opposite of is content editable. So what if I said name field.contentEditable equals the opposite of name field.is content editable. Refresh. Not currently editable. Click edit. Now it's editable. Click edit again, and it's not. Nifty. But it's a couple problems here. I click edit. I can't tell whether it's editable or not. It seems like it needs to focus that thing. Also, this button no longer edits. It stops editing. So it seems like the button should change. It seems like it should say save or something now. So let's make it that change too. So maybe I actually need a branch in here. Maybe I need to say if name field is content editable, do one thing, otherwise do something else. So if it's already content editable, what do we need to do? Make it no longer editable. Else, that means it's currently not editable and we're making it editable, right? So make it editable. So to do that, make it no longer editable, we set name field content editable to false. And in the else, we will change it to true. I also want to change the button. So if it's currently not editable and we're making it editable, I want to make it say something else. So we need to grab the button. Now it might be the event target. Might not. We have the item. We could search through the item and look for that button. It's the edit button, right? How about const button equals item.querySelector dot edit dot button. So if I'm making it no longer editable, then I want the button.text content to be edit. If I'm going from not editable to editable, then I want the button text content to be save. Yeah. It would. Let's do it for now. Let's do that for now. But keep this in mind, just in case. Event target would work for now. Yeah. I did underscore EV. Let's not underscore it anymore because we're using it. But yeah, that wouldn't have worked. I would have had to put the underscore there. Let's do that again. Does it work? Yep. The button changes to save. I think it should change color too. Remember to get a green button, the class was success. So what if when I do that, when I change it to say save, I also say button.classList add success. When I change it back, button.classList remove success. Make it no longer editable. Update the button. Refresh. Try again. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Now you still can't tell it's editable. So let's focus it as well. you see the problem? You would never know that you can click there. So let's have it do it for us. So when we are making it editable, that is the else. Name field dot focus. We know we can do that to inputs. Can we do it here? Yep. Nice. Puts the cursor at the beginning. To put it at the end is actually a pain in the neck. It's not too hard to do with an input, but content editables aren't actually inputs, so it doesn't work quite the same way. Do it on Stack Overflow if you're really interested, but it is quite complicated, which is a bummer. Now we need to actually update the flick, right? We need to update the item in the array. Now, why did we even need to toggle this on and off? Why couldn't we have just watched for us to type in that thing? Just had it editable the whole time. Make changes as we type. You might be tempted to use onChange. You can watch for change events on inputs. Turns out you cannot watch for change events on content editable elements, however. So that doesn't work. So it's when we make it no longer editable that we want to save the changes, right? Save changes. So we already have our flick. So flick.name should equal what? We already have the name field. It's right here. You might be tempted to say name field.value. But this is a span, not an input. Even though it's editable, it does not have a dot value. But it does have text content. And that's what you're actually changing. So when you use content editable on some text field, like span, it's the text content you're actually changing. So flick name to match the text content of the name field. Let's try it out. Let's do G.I. Joe. Let's do Magic Mike. Let's edit. Let's say Magic Mike XXL. Save. Did it work? App.flicks. Heck yeah, it did. Go us. Questions? Edit existing flicks.